Hey everyone, Bradley Jack Design here with another quick tutorial. This time I'm going to show you guys how to make your own custom brush that you can use in Photoshop. So I have a lot of brushes in my brush panel. So if I just right click here, I've got some general brushes, some special effects brushes, and then my brushes that I found and created. So you can create a bunch of brushes to add texture to your designs. Or if you want to play around with some flares, you can make some flare brushes to use. So I'm going to show you how you can do that, and it's actually very, very simple. So I'm just going to go online. This is unsplash.com. Find some photos that I can make into brushes. So I'm going to type in sand. I'm just going to see what sand images we have on here. This might be a little too generic. Here you go. This is one. So let's say we want to make this a brush. You know, this would be a good brush to have some texture, add texture to something you're making. So I'm going to download the file. I'm going to hop into Photoshop. I'm just going to toss this into Photoshop. And it's really simple to make a brush. Really, you need to make, what you need to do is you need to make the image black and white. So here's black and white. We want to make sure that whatever is black is going to be the brush head. So I'm going to make this black and white, you know, maybe adjust how white it is, how black it is. I'm going to hit OK. Now, I clearly don't want this hand in the brush, so I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm going to just brush it out. I'm just going to draw some white on here. Once I get closer to the part I actually want to brush, you know, you can right click, pull up the hardness, make it smaller. You can click around so it's not so hard. You don't want a hard edge on a brush. Right now, if I save this out to make it a brush, this right side here would look terrible because there's probably something other than just white in this area. So I'm gonna go in here and just give it a couple clicks to make it black and white. So here we go. This is our brush. Now, I'm going to actually merge everything together by hitting Shift Command E. And I'm going to go up to Image, Trim. I'm going to keep it on top left pixel color, trim away all sides, and hit OK. And what that's going to do is it's going to trim away everything. If there's one pixel now on each of these places that isn't white, which is what we had in the top left hand corner. So I'm going to drag around just a little bit to paint some white there. So there, let's say we want to make this our brush. One thing you want to make sure is the size of your image. So this is 3000 pixels by 3500 pixels essentially. So all you have to do is you just go up to, once you have what you have, you just go up to Edit, Define Brush Preset. And when you do that, you can name it whatever you want. So I can do Sand Air Ball, Sam Sir Ball, sure. Sir Sand the Ball. And then it just made that brush. So I have this brush here now. So if I just go to this random document and, you know, let's select green. Now you can see I've got the brush selected, but we don't see anything because the brush is bigger than this file. So we can just make the brush smaller, and here's the brush. So there's some sand that we have that's now green that we can use. Now I like to use these brushes that have texture on it to mask things out. So I might mask a player out. I might mask the ground out using these because it's natural, it's sand, it's got a weird funky edge. But that's how you can make a brush in Photoshop. You can do it with anything. So let's see here. Let me see if I can search lens flare. See if they have any lens flares on here. Of course, it's all people putting in lenses. So that's not what we want. So what I'm going to do instead, actually, I'm going to search fire. So here's fire. There's some fire. What I'm looking for is something like this. So I just want these little sparks, these little dots to pop up. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to toss it into Photoshop. I'm going to go up to my adjustments layer. I'm going to use a gradient map to turn it whatever color I want. it is of course green. So black and white, but I want the fire to be black and the sky to be white. So I'm going to reverse this. That should be pretty good. I'm gonna go down here. You can merge everything together. I'm going to go in and see, we still have that brush selected. I'm gonna select a general normal brush. I'm actually gonna make it a relatively hard brush. So you can see actually this is still gray, so we need to fix that. So that's what you would fix in your gradient map. We'll click this one here. Just drag this over. There, that's white now. And I'm gonna go in and drag, oops, wrong layer selected. I'm gonna go in here and click in here and get rid of the fire. I just want these sparks. Now what I generally would use this for is from the edge, so I don't really care if it has this hard edge to it. You could go in and take the time, get a really tiny brush and go in and just, you know, mark out all these little guys to make it look natural and not some flat edge here. But we don't need to do that. So I'm going to merge everything together by holding Shift, Command, and hitting E. And then I'm going to go up to the trim again, hit enter, and it should trim everything up. Go up to image or edit, define brush preset. I can do sparks. So now I have this sparks brush. So now if we go over to this, I can select, you know, let's fill this all with black. And then I can select, you know, let's just do yellow. I can go in here and I can paint from the side this yellow. Now actually what I'm going to do is let's create a new layer. Let's do yellow. So we've got that there. Then actually let's go in, select another color of like orange. That's terrible orange. There you go. Let's make a new layer. Hold down the Option key and click in between layers to merge them. And let's use the gradient tool and let's draw a little gradient on top of this from orange to yellow to make it look a little bit more realistic like fire. But that's, you know, this is how you can get some more texture in something. If you want to do a splatter or something like that, you can do that. So we can search in here. You can do, you know, paint splatter. Fire paint splatter, of course, is what I have in here. Paint splatter. You know, you can find textures of anything. You know, let's download this image. So we've got this image somewhere. Here it is. We'll drag this into Photoshop. We'll go to the adjustments. We'll go to the gradient map. It's orange and yellow because that's what we have by default. Let's really pull these blacks in because you want a true black because it's going to be full opacity. So let's drag that over here, drag this down. So maybe we want this to be a brush. Hit OK, merge everything. We'll probably make this full screen. You know, the edge is probably fine on this. So we'll go up to edit, define brush preset. I want to check something first though. So the brushes have to be under a certain width. So I think if you have it over 3000, it's not going to work. So make sure your width is under 3000 pixels. This one is 2500. So I can go up to edit. I can go up to define brush preset, hit OK, name it whatever you want. Here we go. We got this big old brush pattern now. So let me just make a new layer. Make it smaller. So here you can see the size of it. So let's say we want to make it take over the whole size of this here. I'm just going to click. So now we've got this texture in the background of just this in any color we want. Again, you can use this to mask stuff or whatever. You can do the same thing for flares. You just need to make sure that the flare is, well, let's just find one. Let's just find a flare real quick. Flare. There's got to be a flare somewhere on this computer, right? Here. Lens flare. Click and drag into Photoshop. Here we go. We go up to the adjustments, gradient map, make it black and white, not orange and yellow, black and white, but we want it to be reversed. You can just hit the reverse button here, but I just like going in here and changing it. So this looks funky. So actually we want the white to be over here and the black to be over there because we want more of this to come through. So boom, there's one. You don't have to merge it together. I'm just gonna hit, well, actually no, yeah, I want to merge it together. Edit, define brush preset, flare. So now if we go to our original image, make a new layer, I can, click up here in the top corner, hypothetically, and there's a yellow flare. Now it doesn't have the white. You can probably would be better to use a gradient map to just colorize the flare, but this is just as an example. You can use this to add texture on something. It might look cool to use this with the mask as well. So that's just a quick way you can create your own brushes in Photoshop. Just find an image you want to use, and trust me, you can go and find online. You'll start to look at images differently, textures of walls you might like, fire you can use. I used a lot of sand and dirt and rocks and stuff like that, and you can just make it black and white. Make sure there's a lot of contrast, get rid of pretty much all of the grays, and you can make your own brushes. So hopefully this helped you out. If you have any other suggestions for tutorials, let me know in the comments below. Other than that, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks.